I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. A big celebration as the Diocese of Brooklyn welcomes 2 new bishops.
I was really overcome with emotion.
Tremendously uplifting experience. The grace of God never ceases to amaze.
Plus, a celebrity split could mean trouble for one religion.
It's without a doubt a PR nightmare. I mean, to have their top 2 celebrities having marital problems.
And a Catholic college lends a hand to undocumented immigrants.
These students are not criminals. They're not aliens.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It was a day to remember here in Brooklyn on Wednesday. Bishop DiMarcio ordained 2 new auxiliary bishops for the Diocese of Brooklyn. It was a standing room only crowd at Our Lady of Angels Church in Bay Ridge as Bishops Raymond Geppetto and Paul Sanchez were ordained to the episcopacy. The Pope's representative to the U.S. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano was on hand for the afternoon Mass.
It gives me great joy to be with you today as Monsignors Raymond Geppetto and Paul Sanchez, native sons of this beloved diocese, are ordained to the fullness of the priesthood and begin their service as auxiliary bishops.
Today is a wonderful day for the Diocese of Brooklyn. We are ordaining 2 bishops to be auxiliary bishops of Brooklyn, Bishop Geppetto to be and Bishop Sanchez to be.
You have 2 wonderful new auxiliary bishops here. And Bishop Geppetto and Bishop Sanchez, I think, will represent the good Bishop DiMarcio and this wonderful diocese as nobody else in the world could. They're 2 very distinguished, fine, and very devout, wonderful bishops.
I hope they're inspired to see that the church continues, that the leadership of the church is important for the future. I think that's truly important for the work of the church to know that the succession of the successes of the apostles continues today.
It's a great joy, you know. It's that our diocese has two new shepherds for its flock, you know, 2 new shepherds to assist our main shepherd, our ordinary Bishop DiMarcio. So it's a great joy for our diocese and for the people of God here in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Well, it means that we have people that will help in the administration of the diocese. You know, bishops are responsible for administrative affairs, and Bishop Geppetto will be the vicar for clergy as he is now, and Bishop Sanchez will be working with some of the territorial issues.
It is truly a privilege and an honor to work with you in this great Diocese of Brooklyn. Your love and your support is greatly appreciated. I was really overcome with emotion at that moment in the ceremony when the bishop laid his hands upon me. So I realized what an awesome moment that was. How powerful the presence of the Holy Spirit was at that moment. I felt the prayers of all the people, I felt the love of God, and I felt that this was what God was asking me to do.
It's such an honor. I think it all kind of came to life today to see such an amazing ceremony and just to see the joy in his face, and then the way he spoke at the end of the ceremony. I couldn't have been more perfect, and just thanking every person that's touched his life and basically how he got to where he is today. I think it all kind of came full circle, and it was such an honor to be here.
May the blessing of this Eucharist continue to bring grace into our hearts. I love you all. God bless you all. Glory be to God forever. It's a beautiful experience, you know, being with God's people, being with the leadership of the church, you know, believing in the power of prayer, the grace of the Holy Spirit, remembering your loved ones, your family, your deceased. My parents are deceased. Praying with people. It was just a tremendously uplifting experience. The grace of God never ceases to amaze, you know, never ceases to surprise us.
I think it means a shot of new life. I really do. You know, we have auxiliary bishops in name, And as we heard, some of them are not well. So it's a large diocese, and Bishop DiMarzio needs extra help. And these two men are the finest of our priests. They really are wonderful. They're so highly admired and very pastoral, very people-oriented. And I think they'll be a great asset.
Well, I feel fantastic. And I think it's important because it shows the vitality in the church. We're living in difficult times and we need good spiritual leaders. And the two new bishops will certainly play a wonderful role in, being the leaders, stepping up. I think the most important thing is that it shows the life that's in the Roman Catholic Church in 2012.
I think it's a great thing for the diocese. It's a great honor to them as priests and to their family and to their parishes, but for the church to have an auxiliary bishop, to have another bishop, which is the fullness of the priesthood, and to have two guys that are so pastoral. I mean, they can get out more to the people, to the parishes, and to do God's work.
We all feel as though that they are great. We've gotten a gift, a wonderful gift from God that we're going to appreciate and not spoil and not dispose of, but just keep encouraging the goodness and the information that they bring.
May, in your years as auxiliary bishop, you take great joy in supporting Bishop DiMarzio with all of the care and compassion, with all of the wisdom and indeed the friendship and love that was showered upon me by the two bishops of Brooklyn. I can assure you, if you live your years as auxiliary bishop in that way, you will have happy, happy years, blessed years here and hereafter.
And before Wednesday's Episcopal Ordination Mass, the last time the Diocese of Brooklyn welcomed auxiliary bishops was back in August of 2006, when Bishops Frank Caggiano, Octavio Cisneros, and Guy Sansaric were all ordained auxiliary bishops. Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. The rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublas. Sad news to report tonight from Brazil. The longest-serving cardinal has died. Rome Reports has that story.
Brazilian Cardinal Eugenio D'Araujo Salles has passed away at the age of 91. He was the Archbishop Emeritus of São Sebastião in Rio. He was also the longest-standing cardinal in the current College of Cardinals. Back in 1969, Salles was named a cardinal by Pope Paul VI. In Brazil, he was mostly known for his pastoral work. He argued against the doctrinal errors of liberation theology. He also promoted social programs in several Brazilian cities. With his passing, there are now two cardinals who were named by Pope Paul VI. They include Brazilian Paulo Evaristo Arns and American William Wakefield Baum. So now there are 121 cardinal electors and another 87 who cannot vote in case of an eventual conclave because they are older than 80.
And back in the U.S., a new bill being introduced in Congress aims to protect religious groups by defending their rights of conscience without fear of being heavily taxed. Two representatives have introduced legislation to stop the federal government from taxing religious employers that decline to cover contraception and abortion-causing drugs in their health plans. Now, the legislation will also serve to protect private businesses with moral and religious objections if they refuse to pay for insurance that violates their beliefs. The Religious Freedom Tax Repeal Act targets part of the federal health care reform law, whose regulatory fines were upheld in the June 28 Supreme Court ruling as a form of taxation. Now, it was calculated that a religious institution with 50 employees would be forced to pay nearly $2 million in taxes each year for refusing to provide contraception. They call the bill severe. The co-sponsors of the bill have said that the Supreme Court's recent decision on Obamacare ignores a serious assault on religious freedom. And while heat and lack of rain in the U.S. Midwest is creating dangerous drought conditions that may threaten the food supply in parts of Ireland, they are praying for a break in the rain for the same reason. Bishop Dennis Brennan of Ferns has asked local churches to offer prayers for farming families struggling under a severe loss of income due to the weather conditions. He also expressed fear that the poor weather could hinder the wider national economic recovery. Bishop Brennan saying persistently poor weather is a real threat to crops and livelihoods, and it means extra animal feed costs. 9 inches of rain, nearly 3 times the average, fell last month, making it the wettest June since records began in 1910. And forecasters say there is little chance of an improved outlook with more rain predicted. In other news, a historic landmark under attack by Islamic militant groups in Timbuktu. Rome Reports has more on that.
Yet another historic landmark was severely damaged by Islamic militant groups in Timbuktu. The attack of a shrine and its sacred tombs is believed to be the work of an extremist group named Ansar Dine, which wants to impose Sharia law in the region. The last incident is one of several recent attacks against UNESCO World Heritage Sites in that area.
Their mausoleums, their mosques, their manuscripts, which represent an enormous value for humanity. And it's totally unacceptable what is happening there.
Timbuktu is in the West African state of Mali. Since the 12th century, it's been considered the cradle of Islamic learning, especially since thousands of religious manuscripts and texts have been found there. In 1988, it was declared a World Heritage Site. In fact, just days before the attacks began, it was added to the list of landmarks that run the risk of not having proper conservation. Now UNESCO is trying to rally support to stop the attacks.
It's mobilizing support, international support of political, of religious leaders.
This unrest in northern Mali comes after former President Amadou Toumani was ousted by a military coup last March. Since then, rebels and Islamic groups have been fighting to seize control of that area.
And elsewhere, it's turning into a working holiday for Pope Benedict XVI, who has dedicated his time at Castel Gandolfo to rest, relaxation, and, as we hear from Rome Reports, to one of his favorite pastimes, writing.
The Pope is spending his vacation finishing the third and final part of his book, Jesus of Nazareth. It was announced by the Vatican spokesperson, Father Federico Lombardi. He has taken up with his book on Jesus and is working to finish it. As we know, in it he discusses the Gospels of infancy. The Pope began writing this book when he was still a cardinal. Since his election as pontiff, he has dedicated all of his holidays to work on it. He published the first volume in 2007 and the second in 2011. In the next few weeks, he's expected to complete the third volume, which reflects on the childhood of Jesus. From his vacation home at Castel Gandolfo, he is also working on the speeches he will give during his trip to Lebanon in September. He is also busy preparing the contents for the next year of the faith and the 50th anniversary of Vatican II.
And stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Coming up, a religion is in the spotlight following a celebrity split. Well, it's the breakup that has a lot of people talking. At the end of June, the news that actress Katie Holmes had filed for divorce from actor Tom Cruise. The two subsequently signed a divorce agreement. The split has put the faith of the two actors in the spotlight. Cruise is somewhat synonymous with the Church of Scientology, which was founded by author L. Ron Hubbard. Holmes converted to Scientology soon after she and Cruise began dating. Now comes word that Holmes has registered at a Catholic church here in New York City, St. Francis Xavier in Manhattan. In fact, both actors had a Catholic upbringing, with Cruise having briefly attended a Franciscan seminary. But for the Church of Scientology, getting connected to some big names may be part of its plan. And as we hear from CNN's Karen Winter in Los Angeles, it's a strategy that may prove pretty costly.
Being Scientologist, you look at someone and you know absolutely that you can help them.
The Church of Scientology's close connection to celebrities like Tom Cruise is no accident. Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard believed celebrities could boost the church's fortunes.
Hubbard wrote a policy years ago, back in the 70s, that the way to reinvigorate the church was to recruit big names. The purpose of it is to add credibility to the church's belief and get more people to join.
Ex-Scientologist Karen Presley ran the church's Celebrity Center in Hollywood in the late 1980s before quitting Scientology in 1998. She says priority one was to pull in stars.
We lived and died over it.
Presley told us in the 80s her team courted Demi Moore and Brad Pitt to no avail. They had better luck with another rising star.
How big a fish was it to reel in Tom Cruise?
It was huge. I mean, is there a bigger name than TC? We called him TC.
TC became a VIP in Scientology in the church's mind, casting a glow with his star wattage. That earned him a salute from Scientology's leader in this video that leaked online. But aligning itself so closely with celebrities has come at a price for the Church of Scientology. For every plug from another Scientologist like John Travolta,
I think it's the most important movement on the planet,
has come an unflattering headline. And for every shout out from Tom Cruise,
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist.
There's been a cringe-worthy moment.
Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is, this was not against her will, though. But this wasn't against Brooke's will.
Matt, I'm asking you a question.
A haggard Cruise appeared on NBC's Today Show in 2005, famously debating Matt Lauer over psychiatric drugs, an issue important to Scientologists.
Clearly, you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also, because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible.
And the couch-jumping episode on Oprah, in which Cruise proclaimed his love for Katie Holmes, made the actor, to many people, an object of ridicule. Now, the sudden implosion of his marriage to Holmes has created another public relations problem for the church.
It's, without a doubt, a PR nightmare. I mean, to have their top two celebrities having marital problems to the extent that Katie wants this divorce is huge.
Scientology prides itself on providing couples with communication tools to succeed at marriage. The church's Celebrity Center website states, whether applied to marital or personal relationships, to one's family or career, or simply one's personal peace of mind, Scientology changes conditions for the better. Presley says the Cruise-Holmes split pokes a hole in that claim.
This is Tom's third divorce. What does that say about a Scientologist, a senior-level Scientologist like Tom, TC, what does it say about his ability to succeed in relationships? I think it's a huge statement.
Spokeswoman Corinne Powell told CNN, with respect to Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes' divorce, the church has no comment. Please direct any questions to their representatives. This is and always was a private family matter, and the church will continue to respect their privacy. The end of the Cruise-Holmes divorce drama may come as a relief to the church, but it's facing other challenges. Several former prominent Scientologists have taken to waging a vigorous online campaign against the church. Presley says these high-level defections have pushed Scientology to a crisis point.
I think it's probably the most fragile that it's ever been. I think that the church is hanging by a thread.
The church spokeswoman begs to differ, telling CNN, quote, "Every church has its detractors, and these stories come at a time of tremendous church growth." And that report from CNN's Karen Winter. Don't go anywhere. There's more currents ahead. When we return, it's a dream come true for a group of young people, courtesy of a Catholic college. Finally tonight, it is known as the DREAM Act. It stands for Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors. The proposal would give undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children and who meet certain criteria a path to legal residency here. Now, while the House of Representatives passed the legislation in 2010, the proposal, which has the support of U.S. bishops, has thus far failed to get the approval of the Senate. But some states are not waiting for the federal government to act. They've passed their own legislation, including in Illinois, where a Catholic college is giving a group of young, undocumented immigrants a boost. CNN's Nick Valencia in Chicago has that story.
Last year, Dominican University in suburban Chicago decided to help fund the education of 17 undocumented immigrant students in a move its president called a moral responsibility.
Is that controversial? Yes. Is that an important statement for this institution to make? Yes.
Dominican acted on the urging of the Association of Catholic Colleges and Universities, which is trying to get its schools to enroll and assist undocumented students. At Dominican, private donors raised more than $270,000 to finance the program. The school says those being helped are in good academic standing and earned merit-based scholarships over other students. Of the nearly 4,000 students at Dominican University, nearly 22% are Latino, and more applying every year are undocumented.
So if it wasn't for Dominican University, you wouldn't be in college?
Yeah, because they were the ones that were able to help me.
A rising sophomore at Dominican University, Ariana Salgado, whose parents brought her to this country when she was 6 years old, has become the face of Dominican University's new initiative.
I found that they were really welcoming. I mean, everything from like their application, they don't really ask for a social security number.
You feel safe?
Yes, I do feel safe in this school.
So they could be the greatest kid in the world, but they're still somebody's broken the law here, and they need to pay.
Illinois State Representative Randy Ramey objects to what Dominican University is doing. He opposed passage last year of the Illinois version of the DREAM Act, which makes scholarships and prepaid tuition programs available to undocumented students who graduated from state high schools at no cost to taxpayers. He believes the law cheats those he calls real Americans.
But let me play devil's advocate here, Representative. They're a private university. They are a private school.
Right.
Some would say they can do whatever they want with their money.
Well, they could, but why are they still breaking the law then? I mean, here are kids that have no identification. They are not citizens, but we're going to give them a college education. Then what?
But for Dominican University, this is not about politics, but social justice, says its president. This is a human issue.
These students are not criminals. They're not aliens. They're bright, aspiring young men and women.
But for Salgado and others like her, there are still more obstacles ahead. Under current federal immigration law, a future in the workforce after college is still uncertain.
And that report from CNN's Nick Valencia in Chicago. And that is all for tonight. Be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faubliss. We leave you tonight with more from Wednesday's Mass of Episcopal Ordination at Our Lady of Angels in Bay Ridge. Thank you for watching and have a good night.